All right, all right. Welcome, So You Think You're Fine, peeps, to another episode. Today, we're going to dabble a little bit into dating in the modern world. Good old fun. Oh, let's do this. Well, we have Emis. You know her. You know her. And then me, of course, Bethany. Thanks for joining us again, guys. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Little poop show of dating in the modern world is wild. Emis, girl, what's your story with like dating in general? Just give us some tea on that. Have you dabbled into dating sites? Not really.
I mean, honestly, yeah, I did. I did for a little bit when I think here like 8 years ago. I don't know what it was called. I think it was like called OkCupid, which I met my ex, which we dated on and off for like about a year and a half or so.
Okay.
So like we did that.
Nice.
It was fine. It's just so different right now, I feel like, than it was here and like when they first came out.
Yeah.
I think when they first came out, it was more like, oh my gosh, like this is like you can meet people and you can go on dates and like do that. And obviously like in Chicago, the dating like scene is just very different than here in Arizona, I feel like.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot that you were in Chicago then. So that's like a whole, I think every city is different in their dating style, you know?
Yeah.
Like when you're more in the city, it's more like fast paced, more all that, to where like if you're kind of more like the country or less populated areas.
I mean, let's be honest, like if I could have it my way, like I would go back into like the early 2000s where there was no dating websites and everybody met organically and you didn't have the option of like, oh, I'm bored with my girlfriend, let me go and open, you know, Tinder or whatever it may be. Like, I feel like everybody has it so easy these days that it's like the gratification, it's so fast and you lose interest into like developing a relationship or getting to know somebody because you're like, like, we got in a fight, I'm going to go fight somebody else. Or I'm going to go online and, you know, swipe. Which sucks. Because it's just, I don't know. I feel like we've lost track of what we want. But, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It's kind of crazy to think, like, our parents, back in the day, like, when they were our age, it was totally different, right? Like, dating. Like, it was just, like, through friends that you met, right? Or family members introduced their friends, things like that. Like, it was just more like you went to the grocery store and, you know, right next to the produce, you saw this attractive person and you just, like, went up and chatted. Just, like, things like that. Like, it was more personal, more in-depth, and, like, more intimate, to where nowadays it's 7 p.m. on a Saturday night and you're bored. Like, you can swipe through 200 people.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe find a match. But it's, like, a physical attraction match and not, like, a true match, you know?
But also, like, half the time that people even do this, it's not like they end up even going on dates. It's just like that ego stroke that somebody liked your picture.
It's the gratification of like, oh, someone thinks I'm attractive.
100%.
And a lot of people do it because they feel like they aren't attractive. Like, you know, they need that gratification and their tank is low. So they're like, let me just go on these sites, swipe. Like, I'm not actually here to make connections. I'm not actually here to like pursue and see what's going on.
Yeah.
They just want that gratification of, okay, this person thinks I'm attractive. Maybe let's have some fun, you know, which is up to them, right? There's people that just want to have fun, which is completely fine if that's their thing. But I think too many people use it to just always have fun. And it's like some of these dating apps are specifically for more than just fun. You know, like it's to have fun with a partner and to develop. Yeah. And not just like quick, easy, let's go, you know? Yeah. So I think that's kind of like a bad rap that dating sites do have in general in today's world.
I feel also, and maybe it's just that COVID also came in and kind of like ruined a couple of things as well too, where now everybody's just so content with being by themselves or being at home. And it's like, well, I don't necessarily have to put an effort to go meet somebody or go get somebody. But also, I think, I don't know, it's just, there's a lot of things that have screwed up this world, if you want my personal opinion. Yeah. Which maybe you don't care for it, but you're going to get it anyway. I care for it. You know, I know you might care, but I feel like this whole, okay, so I might get roasted for this one, but I don't give a shit.
Let's get it.
When it comes to like feminism, I think it started like back in the day to have, it had the right intention, if I want to put it out there. Like, for example, like to get us to vote, to have us get paid more when it comes to the workforce with, how things fell into society, right? Whichever way. But I think like this feminism has gotten into an extent that it's making women hate men. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think men are bad. I think men are great. And I think the way that men are being betrayed these days, where it's like, even with like the movement that we've had, which, very valid.
Yeah.
Unwanted things are unwanted things. No means no, right?
Yeah.
And you'll have shitty people, but you'll also have good people. But because of one specific thing that has happened, then people are much more drawn back to even, for example, like approach you at a bar, approach you at a restaurant, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's harder for men to approach because they do feel like they no longer need to. But also with this feminism thing that we're talking about, now it's gotten to an extent that like, I'm independent, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, where a lot of women are put into their masculine energy versus being into their feminine energy. And funny that you say this, like you can notice it. You'll see women who are in their masculine energy. For example, I was coming from the airport today and I was waiting for my Uber, which was another shit show, but either way, I was waiting there and this Uber guy goes in, opens his trunk to help this girl, like she was probably my age, to help this girl to like lift the suitcase.
Yeah.
She just completely ignored him and lifted her own suitcase and put it into the back of the truck. Not the back of the truck, but back of the trunk. And he was just like, okay, like it was a nice gesture for him to do it because obviously like, it's an Uber. But I could tell in that like moment, I was like, she is definitely in her masculine energy.
Yeah.
There's no feminine energy in her side. And obviously it comes back to like, past traumas or whatever it is.
Correct.
But I think all of these things, going back to the dating apps, they have brought us to this where we are, where everything is just little gratifications. Like men are what they are versus being the strong men that they used to be. And I feel like it's like this imbalance. Like, I don't know, men don't want to really put an effort into dating anymore like they used to.
Agreed. And I've even like had this conversation with like my partner a little bit too. Just like the men and the women in like just in America. It's just so different than it was like the past few years, right? Like we have definitely progressed as a culture and we've progressed in like acknowledging our own personal issues and realizing like, hey, like it's not healthy to like not work on yourself, then not take, why am I blanking right now? Like basically like not taking responsibility for your own actions and just like acting like, oh no, it is what it is. Like, sorry, like realizing like, dang, what I did was really shitty and I need to own up to it and I need to apologize to those that hurt me. But I think people like, we as a society, we're just so extreme. We are extreme in feminism. We are extreme in everything. We're extreme in me. And as soon as we see one slight sign of, oh, maybe this person isn't good for me, like we just take that and we run with it. Yeah. When in reality, like maybe that's the case, but also too, like nobody's perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. They're not perfect, And I think with our current culture, I get like back in the day, like our parents maybe settled for things that they shouldn't have and we're trying to be better, but they knew what it meant to stick around and truly like just try and work on it, And maybe they could have been better of like acknowledging and communicating with their partner, but like it was more realistic and it was more of a thing to be in a marriage for 50 years, 30 years. Nowadays, I think America has like the highest divorce rate, right? Like
they do.
If you make it past 5 years, like that's crazy. Like you're kind of like, oh, wow, like that's awesome, And like to where the older generation, you ask them and they're like, oh yeah, like me and Paul, we've been married for 40 years, 30 years. Like I think we just kind of like see this little sign of like, oh, they're not good for me and dip out. But in reality, it's like, okay, like, are they willing to work on it?
Yeah.
Can I be there for them to help them grow? Am I perfect? No, I'm not. What can I do to be better, And I think like with these dating apps, we are just so focused on ourselves and I'm great and this is amazing. And as soon as we see someone open up in a way that isn't great, we're instantly like, oh, I'm out. Like I could always find someone else,
Yeah.
But you're just like never going to be satisfied if you're not willing to like acknowledge, okay, can this person be great for me? Can I be great for them?
Yeah.
So I feel like dating apps can just be like a very toxic thing to where the idea of them was something good and we just kind of like take them and, I don't know, make them bad in a way to where the intentions of it was good.
Yeah. I think the intention, you're right. The intention of them behind it was good to like have, like, we're not made to be alone.
Correct.
we're made to be with people. We're made to be in tribes and groups, and that's how we develop. Like we need that love and affection. So the fact that like all of these dating apps and all of like dating multiple people and multiple times, that's mind blowing to me. Like if I'm putting my efforts and attention to somebody that I like to get to know them, I'd like to get to know them. And if it doesn't work out, then there's got to be obviously something that happened. But it doesn't work out, doesn't mean that I didn't put my effort in.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And sometimes I'm at flaw for that because I put my intentions into somebody, right? If I like you, I'm going to try to get to know you. I'm going to spend time with you. My interest is solely on you. Versus people these days, especially when it comes to dating apps, their interest or it's on multiple people. They're dating multiple people and multiple times to pick whichever one they like the most.
Correct. And it's a matter of convenience too.
Correct.
It's like, oh, Brian was so great to me, I love Brian. And then as soon as Brian doesn't open the door one time, oh, Brian sucks, I hate him, let's move on to chat. Let's move on to Brad.
But Chad is already in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
And so is the other person in the mix.
Correct.
They're talking to multiple people to figure out which one they like the most. And in a way, like, I don't fault it because you're trying to get to know people in this society that we're in right now.
Correct.
And you want to make the best choice for you. Correct. But also at the same time, you're dealing with people's emotions and feelings.
Correct.
And if you're dating multiple people and you're putting same efforts into each and every one of them, you're spreading yourself thin.
Correct.
Like you're not giving your all to one person to get to know them.
And I think that's where communication is super key. And also too, it does vary, right, for people in their situations. But like you and that, like you would be open in communicating with that guy and say like, hey, like I really like you. I really want to pursue this and see where this is going. Is that something is that something you're feeling as well? Yeah. And then hopefully they tell you like, yes, MS, or you know what, MS, like, I don't know if I'm necessarily there yet, whatever, just like communicating. Yeah. And it also too, like, I think it's ridiculous. Like I'll hear some stories where they have been talking to the guy or the girl for like 5 months and the guy or the girl is like still simultaneously like dating other people. Yeah. Like I feel like by then you should have known if like that's going to be someone you want to pursue or not in that way. Like what do you mean you're still trying to find out? Like that they're not your person then. Yeah. And they need to be communicative about them. Just say like, hey, I miss like
men
I just don't
know
think
right away.
Agreed. Do you know how many how crazy it is? Like I hear stories of like these girls being with these guys for years and years and years and years and nothing happens. Yes. And they'll get out of that relationship and within the next year, the girl or the guy is in another relationship and they're instantly engaged and they're married and they're having like like they just know. Yep. Like when you know, you know.
When you know, you know. That is the saying. And it's like if you are now here's the thing. The guy will know, but if the guy has not done the work internally himself to heal himself, he will sabotage that relationship.
Correct.
That they wanted to. They will destroy that relationship and they will always pick and do things of what the other person does not want them to do, to piss them off, to like remove them. Yeah. But like they still want that person, so they bring him back into their life. But they know right away if they want to spend time with somebody or they want to marry somebody or whatever it is. Correct. I mean, obviously we have a guy here with us, Jay.
What's up?
How fast do you think like if you like want to be with somebody as a dude?
Maybe not necessarily like marriage yet, right? But enough to know like, okay, I am interested enough to like pursue this person and see like, can we truly be a fit?
I think for men, it's a little bit different. So with men, there's this saying, and I forget how it goes exactly, but it's like when they're ready to like settle down, they'll just settle down with whoever's there.
Oh. That's true. I've heard that.
I forget how that saying goes.
We're screwed.
Like they can be in love with somebody, but they will settle for this other person if they're ready for that time.
Yeah, when they're ready to like settle down, and it just like comes out of nowhere too. But yeah, I would say it's just a weird thing. That's just what I've heard. I don't know.
Do you feel like that way with at least like your past relationships? Like you kind of felt like you just maybe weren't ready regardless of who it was? Or do you feel like you are ready, but you just haven't found the person that you felt you could do that with or want that with?
I think for me personally, I think I'm a hopeless romantic. I just literally give me some attention and I'm in.
Let's go.
It's bad. But I don't know, because I feel like every relationship I've learned a lot from, and I feel like I could have settled, not necessarily settled, settled down
with them,
with whoever I was at the time, because because I felt like I was ready, based on who I was at the time, to be able to settle down with that person.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does.
Because I feel like you're a different version of yourself every few years.
Correct.
And you can be with someone and still be ready to settle down with them every few years.
Yeah.
As long as you guys are growing apart, and you guys are growing as individuals, but also growing together.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it does.
It does.
No, it does.
But yeah, no, if I was like this, if I were to date my first girlfriend now, it'd be different, but no. But I think at the time I was ready to go.
Okay,
But
that
I feel
makes
like,
sense.
yeah, if I would have stayed with her and we would have grown as individuals and together,
Yeah.
I think it would have worked out. But I don't know.
I can agree with that one. Like, if I were to go back to date my first boyfriend that we dated for 3.5 years in high school,
Yeah.
I think we're such different individuals right now.
Correct. I mean, you just grew as a person. You learned a lot, you know?
But you also can't see me climbing mountains right now.
Yeah.
So, like, I think we have, like, different hobbies.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're so different that, like, I don't know. I agree with, JC said. Like, you do grow up. You can know that that's a person for you, but you grow either together, like individually, but also together.
Correct.
Also, you can grow individually, but you grow apart.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, the relationships, kind of like fall apart. But again, going back to things, nowadays, people don't even wait for that.
No. And
people are like, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Tinder.
And that's the point that I'm trying to get across and, like, just say is, like, we, as, like, the younger generation coming into it with just, like, having access to all this technology, social media, very fast-paced, our attention span is very minimal. Yeah. And also, too, like, the movement of, like, me, which to a certain extent, like, I think is great because we really haven't been focusing on ourselves internally.
Yeah.
Meaning how we perceive our own, like, self, how we, respect and treat others, how we can be better for ourselves and others, like, all that. Like, we didn't really take that into consideration, at least, like, the previous generations, like, our parents, our grandparents, like, they would never really talk about, like, I'm hurting, like, they would just bundle up, never do that. And, like, I'm proud that we've done that, or we're trying to do that. But we're just very, like, the littlest inkling, like, littlest thing of, oh, nope, like, I hate that, Brandon did that, like, oh, I'm done. How do you expect to truly, like, grow, help them grow, and, like, have a fulfilling relationship? Because no one's going to be perfect. Yeah. Like, you guys are learning. Like, you even said, and even, like, JC said, your first girlfriend or boyfriend, like, you're a total different person than 100%. You are now. And you grew, and you made mistakes, and you realized what you needed to do and didn't do. Like, how do you not expect that to be a part of your journey with your partner, Yeah. So, but now, like, there's also lines, right? Like, if they're beating you, all that stuff, if they really, like, mentally aren't there. Oh, like, of course. That's a different story. Like, get out, like, but I think, like, we don't really let people open up and be vulnerable and build on themselves the way that we would need them to do in order to truly, like, flourish in a relationship together.
I think emotional intelligence is a big thing. And I think, when it comes to women are highly more emotional intelligent than men
Correct.
are. And people can sit here and tell me all this other wokeness, whatever's happening, whatever it is. It just doesn't work. A male is different than a female is. It's in your bones, in your chromosomes, in your DNA. Like, it's just different, right? You're built differently. A man can definitely learn how to be more emotional intelligent,
Correct.
more listening, more of that. But to us, it comes into, like, a nature-wise.
Correct.
Because we're nurturing as females, right? So for me, I feel like a lot of the men these days have gotten into the softer feminine side. And you've seen those memes where it's like, oh, it shows, like, a girl and a guy, and then she's like, oh, let me get the door for you. Let me bring you flowers. Let me bring you this. And it's like, when did that change?
I don't know.
I don't, like, I'm ready to just move up north somewhere and be like, okay, gotta find me a country guy.
I love that.
Please, I need you to be as masculine as you possibly can. I need you to take care of the house. I need you to do all the things that I don't want to do. And I'm okay with gender roles.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like completely personal biasness on like what you want and don't want. You know? And that's gonna vary between everyone.
Yeah.
Like there are some women that love kind of being like the masculine one in the relationship, and that's fine because that works for them. You know, but like me and like you, like I want to be with a manly man. You know, like.
Yeah.
I also don't mind like, you know, like spoiling him and nurturing him and like, you know, taking care of him, but I do want that like masculineness in areas that like I do think is kind of going away.
Yeah.
In a lot of just like the generation we are now.
Yeah. I agree with that.
But I do love like how now men are becoming a little bit more open about their emotions, you know, like they're humans.
I'm all about the emotions.
I'm for that. Like if my
if
my man cries in front of me, like that just makes me love him more because one, he feels comfortable enough to do that around me.
True.
And two, like he wants to express his emotions. Like how can I be there for him if he doesn't tell me how he feels, you know?
Exactly.
And like just like how I'd want him to be there for me when I'm crying, like why can't I do the same for him?
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't make me think less of him. It doesn't make me think like, oh, like you're not a man. Like no, like it makes me think he's stronger that he was able to open up that way.
Yeah.
Because typically it's like shunned upon. It was previously, you know?
It's always been that way.
Yeah.
And like I'm all about opening up about your emotions and the way that you feel,
Correct.
especially with the person that you trust and you love.
Correct.
I think that's that's great. That's vulnerability, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be vulnerable in a relationship for it to work.
Correct.
A lot of the times that relationships don't work is because people are not open up to it.
Yeah.
But also they lack certain things into their own life.
Correct.
That they haven't fixed. They have gone through childhood trauma. They have gone through, you know, other past relationship traumas where they felt that they opened up and then now they can no longer do it because it just, you know, it didn't work. So now they're like protecting their heart and themselves from it. But
Correct.
I just, you know, it's different. It's difficult these days, I feel like, to date people that you want to date, that you can, you know, you feel like you're on the same kind of like level. Like I'm very like an old soul. Mm-hmm. I'm a very much of a one person. You get to know them, you date them, you form a bond in there. And if it doesn't work out, like my past relationships, they haven't worked out for their own reasons, you know, differently. But at the end of the day, it was not on any lack on my side, because if I'm not in it, I will communicate that with.
Correct. And that's good. That's a hard thing to do for sure, especially, you know, like depending on the situation and if you're doing everything you can and they are too, but it's just still not working, like it's still a shitty thing to say like, hey, like we're just not working, you know, like we're not compatible for each other. But it's better to have that conversation and go your separate ways than to just string them along, you know?
Oh, 100%.
Because you're wasting your time, you're wasting their time, like, you know, like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
And whenever people are in relationships and they think that, you know, like they end up cheating on that person, I think that's such a cowardly thing to do.
Agreed. Like I hate that. Like I literally hate that. Like I always tell like I tell my partner, I love him, but I'm like, if you are ever unhappy and you do not want to be together, like just let me know. Like just let's be adults. I respect you and I love you. I will always love you. But like, please have the decency to just sit me down and say like, Bethany, like we've had amazing times. We've had, you know, bad times. Like I'm just at the point where honestly, like I don't think we work. Yeah. And you know, like I'd be like, hey, like let's see if we talk to this. If we all get to the same resolution of that, then like, okay, like we go our separate ways. But like, you are such a coward to cheat on someone. Like I hate that. Like you didn't have what it took to communicate with your significant other. It means you probably didn't have what it took to communicate to work on your relationship.
Yes.
You weren't a good partner.
Agreed.
You're not a good person to yourself or to others. Like, to do that is just, I hate that. Like, could not. And that's because I've had, like, my past of, like, a significant other doing that to me.
Same.
That's because also happened to my parents, and I just know what it was like on the other side.
Yeah.
And I would never, ever be able to, like, look at myself in the mirror and just be like, yeah, like, no.
How do you justify it?
I don't know, just get out. Just be an adult. Just be an adult and have a conversation and say, you know what, we're not working and I want out. You know?
Yeah.
But I think people just can be cowards and they're scared of having the hard conversations and they're scared of acknowledging the reality of it and just doing it. That they rather just, they don't think of the future, they think of now and me, and I need this and this will make me feel better.
Do you think emotional cheating is worse than physical cheating?
I think they're both bad. Like, I think at that point you're already out, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're already out, and you just, like, it's not gonna be long until you do physical cheating, you know?
Yes.
Like, I think that's where you really need to, like, nip it in the butt and pull your partner aside and say, hey, like, I'm unhappy and I'm da-da-da-da-da. Figure out if it's something you want to work on, figure out if it's too far gone, and then just go your separate ways.
Yeah. I feel like emotional cheating is worse than physical cheating.
Yeah.
Because you have some sort of a bond with that person that you do not feel that you are content with the current partner that you have or feel safe to share those emotions or whatever it is. So emotional cheating does lead to like physical cheating, obviously.
Eventually,
But I think emotional cheating is in a little bit of a higher category for me that, you know, you feel so comfortable with the other person.
Correct.
To do that to the person that you supposedly love.
Yeah. And that goes back to just internally themselves and their partner and them just not communicating, you know, like not at the beginning saying like, hey, I'm unhappy. Hey, here's how I feel. Hey, here's what I need from you. You know, it's just
avoidant, though.
Yeah, it's them ignoring it. Distance happens, right? They then have that space in the relationship to where that's no longer there, right? The emotional connection, all that. And then it's just kind of like they're so numb to where when they find that outlet of that like almost reciprocated emotional, you know, relationship that it was previously with their significant other, they just like cling on to it, you know, and then it grows and it grows. And I think they're both bad for sure. And I think one of them can be resolved, right? Like if you nip it in the butt early and you,
correct,
you know, communicate. But
if both parties want to work on it,
correct.
Yeah.
If both, you know, but you got to just have that hard conversation, and it's a hard ass conversation.
Yeah,
you know,
I think avoidant people who have obviously like, and most of it stems from childhood traumas, based on their parents' relationships or divorces or whatever it may be. If the person doesn't work on their own childhood trauma and they become avoidant,
correct,
to, you know, like knowing that they do love that person, but they best be the first ones to end it before the other person truly sees who they are and ends it.
Yeah.
I think they're the ones that most of the time do the cheating because they don't think they're good enough.
Yeah.
To be in that relationship. They don't think they're deserving enough of the person that they have.
Yeah.
So, and then, but it also comes down to like their ego. Is their ego stroked enough?
Yeah.
Do they not feel themselves worthy enough that they can go from, you know, one person to another person to another person? And by all means, when it comes down to it, you don't think that those people that they went to are better than the person that they have. It's always a worse person.
Correct.
Either physically or emotionally.
Yeah.
It's somebody that's just as broken as they are, even possibly worse.
Correct.
Because that's how they follow the footsteps. They know they have something great.
Correct.
And they always go for lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
And then they end up into whatever situations they end up with at the end of the day. But
correct.
I feel like, and we talked about this, but I think online dating has really destroyed where we are as far as dating goes and meeting people in the organic way of meeting people.
Yeah.
But also some horror stories with that too.
Dude,
like how
real.
safe is online dating right nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general, like the world has just, pardon my language, but it's just gotten shittier and shittier. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, growing up, and even our parents, like, you know, getting home from school and hanging out with your friends and you're, you know, wandering the neighborhood was like totally normal.
Yeah.
You know, like your mom told you to be home before the sun went down.
Yeah.
And you were on your bike and you were riding around town.
Yeah.
You were at the local bowling alley, you were at the local, you know, whatever, like, and it was totally fine and it was safe, you know, to where nowadays, like, just going to the grocery store, like, you never know what could happen. Going on a date with a random guy you've never met, like, you don't even know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I was scrolling through TikTok the other day, and there was this lady that was talking about her sister's friend, and she goes, she was in New York, and she goes, I want to share this story with all the women out there because this is what just happened to my sister's friend.
Wow.
So apparently this girl had gone on a date, and I want to give credit to who, you know, said the story, but I just want to, you know, bring it up here and talking about online dating and stuff. And she matched with this guy, I think it was on Hinge or something, one of the dating apps, the popular dating apps. She matched with him, a very handsome, attractive guy, successful, all of this stuff, New York, and she found out that they have some friends in common. So she asked the friends in common, like, how is he or whatnot, and they're like, he's great, he's nice, he's kind, successful, all this fun stuff. So she goes, you know what? Since my mutual friends have mutual friends with him, and they know him, she's like, I'll go on a date with him.
Yeah.
He asked her on a date. They went to a restaurant. And at the restaurant, he showed up with a suitcase.
Huh.
And she's like, oh, like, what's that?
Yeah.
And he's like, I have a flight at 3 a.m. In the morning. He's like, I really just did not want to wait to meet you before I went on a trip, so I wanted to meet you.
So he brought his suitcase?
So he's like, I brought my suitcase so I can go straight to the airport.
Oh.
And she's like, oh, okay, like, no problem at all. She's like, the conversation was great. It flowed really nicely. Attraction was there. Everything was great. So at the end of the night, apparently he's like, do you mind if I crash at your place so that I can go straight to the airport since it's closer? I don't want to go all the way home. He goes, I promise I'm not trying to hook up with you in any way. I'll sleep on the couch. So she goes, you know what, since my friends know him, she's like, that's fine, no problem, you can do that. So she goes, he sat on the couch and she was like, I went in my room. And she's like, something told me to lock the door. So she goes, I locked my door and I'm in bed.
Yeah.
Well, 3 a.m. comes around, or like 2:30, 3 a.m. comes around, or whatnot. And she goes, I hear knocking at my door. Hey, can you open up the door? Because I need to borrow the phone charger. My phone died. And she goes, something was telling me something was weird.
Weird.
Right? Like, if you're in that situation, you'd be like, oh, sure, let me open the thing because you're going to the airport.
Correct.
So he was trying to make her feel guilty or whatnot. And he was knocking on the door. She's like, I woke up and I texted my friend, call 911.
Yeah.
She just texted her friend, said, call 911.
Dude, so intuition right there.
Right there.
Wild.
So her friend had called 911, and at the moment, the knocking went from knocking to banging on the door.
No way.
Yeah, banging on the door. Open it up. Like, I need a charger so I can go to the airport, whatever. She goes, I did not open it up, and I was waiting for the cops.
Yeah.
Well, the cops came in. They took him, and they knocked at her door, and they're like, hey, like, it's us. But they're like, brace yourself. Like, when you come out of the room. It's a little shocking. She opens the door, and the whole entire, like, living room was wrapped in plastic. And in the suitcase, there were things that he was going to chop her apart.
No way.
His plan was to rape her and then chop her apart.
Holy shiz.
Yeah. And they're like, brace yourself. It's like her gut feeling told her.
Saved her.
Saved her.
That is so devastating. Like, that should have just been, like, a simple interact. You know what I mean? Like, a simple, like, went on a date. Like, how can you? That just sucks. Like, you can't trust anybody.
Also, how did his friends not know? Successful guy? Like, that's so creepy.
You really don't know who you're dealing with in general. Like, you really don't know who you're dealing with, and that's the scary thing about today's world is, like, that should have just been a simple interaction of meeting this guy. He had mutual friends. Like, he seemed to have passed that, right? Like, okay, he has mutual friends. He said good things about him. We went to dinner. He just had to stay the night because he was going to go to the airport. Like, that should have just been a simple, easy, breezy.
He was never planning on going to the airport.
No, I know. But, like, like, they're just so creative. Like, they're so, like, I'm going to say this and blah, blah, blah. You know, like
how creepy.
Why? How
That's
weird.
That's terrifying.
That is absolutely terrifying. Like, that's what I mean. It's like, it should have been such a simple interaction. But, like, now that's ruined. Like, now she will never trust anybody. Like, now, if, like...
It's disturbing.
Yeah. Like, now if that happened to you, like, you're going to be on edge.
Knock on wood. I would never. I would...
No, I know, but, like, just in general, like, you're just more on edge. In general.
So much more on edge. Which is, like... With everything.
That's so ridiculous. Like, why? Why is it getting like that? You know?
I don't know.
Why can't we just
have
have
And it's not like she even went to his house.
No.
He brought a suitcase
He was ready to go. That man, if there's a way, he literally was willing to do whatever it took to get that. Like, that's...
So this is what I'm saying, like, these dating apps have really ruined everything that's going on.
There's just psychotic people in this world, and they will do whatever it takes to get what they want. And, like, that guy was willing to make a transporting suitcase that had what he needed. That is so scary. Wild. I am speechless.
So scary.
Yeah, holy cow.
Like, dating these days, it's just out of control.
Yeah.
It's like, who do you trust anymore?
You can't. Like, you really, until you legit vet them yourself and, you know, do your research and know them for a long time, like, you really do not know.
How do you even do your research anymore?
Girl, I don't know. I'm lost.
Have you seen the trial with a lady in Paris, in France?
No,
I don't think it's Paris, but it's in France.
Uh-huh.
So apparently her husband, for the past 20-some years,
oh gosh,
he used to drug her, and he used to let multiple people come and rape her at the house.
What the freak?
And he would record it. It's a huge lawsuit.
Yo.
Like, it's been going on for the longest time.
That
and the
is
only reason she
sickening.
found out, she went to the doctor and she was sick.
And they told her, like, ma'am, have you been taking...
Something along the lines. And I think, wait.
Gosh.
When I was reading about it,
Uh-huh.
apparently he tried to take pictures of some girl in, like, the bus or something.
Yeah.
That's how they caught him. And they went into his computer,
Yeah.
and they found all those videos and pictures of random men.
That is sickening.
It's sickening.
That is absolutely
He was married to
sickening.
her for over 30-some years.
Oh, dude, the world is just getting sicker and sicker, and it is scary.
So that's
It
what I'm
is so
saying.
scary.
Like, dating, like how do you trust them? Because I'm pretty sure she didn't meet him on online dating like 30-some years ago.
Yeah, dude.
But, like, how big of a disgusting human being do you have to be to do such things?
Correct. I don't know.
This is what's scary about, this. So then going back, to, like, taking it back in the days.
Yeah.
Arranged marriages.
Oh.
At least you know the families.
Yeah, but dude, you don't even really, like, know them all the way, I guess. Like, I don't know. People are
in
just so
Albania,
shady.
they knew each other. All the families knew each other. So when arranged marriages were made in Albania,
Yeah.
the families knew each other. They're like, this is a really good family. This is a really good family. We're putting them together. But also, it was different back in the day. And the
Yeah.
crime rates were extremely low.
Uh-huh.
Like, really, like, our jails were pretty much empty.
Oh, nice.
Nobody was committing crimes because if
Yeah.
you committed a crime, you were hung.
Oh, yeah, you did.
And your whole family was going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you committed a crime. You would be prosecuted in a way.
Jeez.
So it was that strict of things. That's why the crime rates were so low.
Yeah.
But also the families, like, knew each other. So arranged marriages, like, pretty much worked. So now it's
That's
like,
wild.
do you go back to that?
I don't know, dude. That sounds like horrible in its own way too, depending on like who you're getting arranged to. Like, I don't know. And also too, like people put on fronts. So like that guy, he put a front onto his friends. Like his
Yeah.
friends was like, Jamie's a great guy. Like she's gonna love it. You know.
Clearly not.
Clearly not. Clearly, homeboy had a mobile murdering kit with him. Like, jeez.
Ugh, it's so
That's
disturbing.
Disgusting. And also too, like there's even like murder stories, right, of like the killers having a family. You know, like coming home to their wife and kids. But little do they know daddy's been murdering kids for the last 15 years.
It's so
Like
disturbing.
how wild is that, dude? The only person you know is yourself. Only trust yourself, guys. Just kidding.
Stay single
Yes,
for
stay
the rest
single.
of your life.
Only trust yourself if you can trust yourself. I mean, you know yourself best. So I don't know if you're doing crazy murderous stuff, then you're who we talking about here.
I'm telling you, dating these days is wild. I don't know. It's very hard to find, and I'm honestly like I'm a very very chill person when it comes down to things. So like I need somebody that's going to be like loving and caring and family oriented, but
Correct.
also like a good person. So like going on specific dates with people and it just doesn't vibe or it doesn't flow nicely.
Yeah,
It just sucks.
it does.
It's kind of like a waste of time, but also based on a lot of friends and stuff, they're like, you have to go on a lot of dates. You have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince. It's like, I don't want to kiss any frogs.
Yeah, you're like, I'm good.
We're done.
Yeah.
We're so tired right now.
I do agree with, like, you got to put yourself out there, right?
Yeah,
To
that's true.
find your person, and there's always going to be trials and errors, right? In general, whether it's online dating, organically, all that jazz. But it's just part of it, you know? Like, you grow as a person with every relationship. If you don't put yourself out there, how do you expect anything to happen, you know?
Yeah.
High risk, high reward, low risk, low reward, you know?
True.
So you just gotta like think of that, and I don't know. People do find success on online dating, just not as much as we wish it was, you know. And
Yeah.
we wish there was just more like true connections. But you know, life works in funny ways, and
Sure does.
Watch your back, guys. Careful. Send your girls like your locations. I know like that's what my friends do, and that's what I did. If I did go on a date with
Locations,
someone I didn't
profiles, phone numbers,
Correct.
whatever it is. And
Correct.
also, do not add anybody on WhatsApp.
Yeah,
from the
if
dating
you're
apps.
texting me on
There's
WhatsApp,
scammers.
that's sus.
Bro,
if you
there's
can't message
scammers.
me on my phone,
One of my best friends
Oh.
was going on online dating,
Jeez.
and then this guy's like, "Oh, I'm European, you know, I'm German or whatever he was. I don't
Yeah.
even know what he was." And then just typing on WhatsApp, and I was like, "That's a scammer. He's trying to
Yeah.
ask you to like buy some, whatever,
Yeah.
Bitcoin or whatnot."
yeah, that's sus.
And it was not his profile. because she saw him with another profile pictures, another time with a different name.
Weird.
Strange.
Dude, catfish, man, we can talk a whole nother episode on that.
I think we should do an episode on catfish.
I agree. Just like catfishing, just in general. Like, I think with just technology and how people just use that and run with it. And it's like, you're going to get caught.
You guys, let us know if you guys want a catfish podcast, because there's a lot that we can go over that one.
We'll do some research and we'll dig into it, because that's a whole nother box of wildness.
For sure, we should. We should get some fun stories. Let us know if you guys want to hear about it.
Yeah, please do. We're always open to other ideas as well, too. So give us your feedback. We love it. But thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of our podcast. We hope you got some tad bits and, hopefully you agree, disagree with some things that we talk about. But it's just, communicating about how we feel and just the wildness of this world.
Yeah, let us know. If you have any crazy stories on online dating, please send it to us. We would love to talk about it.
I love that.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.